Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bill Has Opinions, the drinking show with a Halloween problem. I'm Laura Lavoie, and I'm here with Bill Perkins, who has opinions.
Hey there.
Hello. We have a spooky background.
Yeah.
Look at even.
You're right. The background is the wrong way.
It is the wrong way, but
yeah,
it's too. I had to upload it. I had to flip it and upload it.
Gotcha. Okay.
It was too late. I even tried to not mirror the screen, and all that did was flip the background. So.
Oh. Okay.
Apparently that didn't work either.
Well, if the background was flipped to be okay, I feel like
oh yeah, for sure. But it's too late for that.
It is. It's too late to bother at this point.
But I think
is what it is.
I think the message gets across.
Pretend I'm on the black and white side and she's on the colorful side.
Correct. Because the well, and we'll get to the gist of it in a second, but when I proposed this show, I said we're gonna totally look like Enid and Wednesday on Wednesday. Like that's our aesthetic.
I guess so, yeah.
And sometimes my hair is like even more crazy colors.
It's true. Sometimes it is like pink or blue.
It is technically pink right now, but it's very light pink. So
it's
more
of a strawberry blonde.
It's almost a rose gold.
Rose gold.
It's actually it is rose. I'm dying at rose gold. So It's doing its thing. But anyway. But hi, how have you been?
I can't complain. It's been pretty okay the last week or two.
Thanks, Jay. That's what we just said. So yeah, what have you been up to? Anything exciting?
What did we do this? Oh, we got the Elon Musk satellite internet, which we found out sadly does not work all the time because it's satellite and a cloud can blow by or a leaf can fall off a tree and then suddenly I lose my. So it's okay for Netflix, but it won't work for my work. Like. My VPN connection drops every 30 minutes.
Oh God, that's got to be frustrating.
Which I can't do.
Are you thinking about going back then?
I think
fuck this noise.
I think we're just going to keep the DSL and this and just run them in tandem, like this for one thing and that for another. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing.
I don't know. I mean,
it wasn't my decision. I was fine with the DSL was frustrating, but at the same time. I knew what to expect with it. Mm-hmm. So, and also I don't like Elon Musk. So I was like, I don't care. And Emily was like, we're going to do this thing and the Purple Onions can pay for it. And I was like, fine, whatever. If Purple Onions paying for it, I don't give a shit one way or the other.
Sure.
It's not my problem. So,
but then because she works, part of that is it's her home office.
Yeah,
too.
But she doesn't need to use VPN. So it might not be as big a deal for her. Like she might just have a fast connection. Because what it does is it's just that it's not a stable connection, but that's not a big a deal if you're not trying to run a VPN.
Right.
It's just if VPN has any kind of blips in it, it drops.
Yeah.
And in my case, my particular job, when my VPN drops, if it happens when I'm in the middle of a transaction, it locks up the transaction.
Oh shit.
And then I have to send a ticket to IT and say, hey, unlock this thing. And it's just a whole fucking ordeal. And I just don't want to deal with it. So
that is a whole fucking ordeal. It's a goddamn whole fucking ordeal.
Yeah. So I told her, like, after the second time it dropped today was my test day. And the second time it dropped today, I was like, all right, I'm off of it. I'm back on the DSL. Because I know what to expect.
Right.
The DSL, it's a little slow, but I get the job done. You know, I said, hey, if I got a Zoom call or something, I might switch over.
Sure.
Because that's when it's like my shit don't work. You know.
Right. Well, and you don't have to VPN for a Zoom, I would assume, just for the transactions. So.
Right. Yeah. So whatever.
Well, so the reason we were off last week is because I was in Michigan.
Oh yeah.
And. Do we know where Michigan is? Where is Michigan?
Some other part of the place.
So we have not done it, and it comes from the Midwest segment in a while.
That's true. We have not.
But I was just in Michigan. We went up last week, so there's already been another game since. But we went up last week for the Carolina.
Oh yeah,
Panthers.
what was your game this week? How'd you do?
Oh, we played Tampa and we kicked their fucking asses.
Oh, you guys are good. Like you're on fire.
5-1, people.
You're on fire. Oh my God, this is your year.
Oh, I knock on wood.
Knock on wood. But I mean, come on, this is the closest it's been to your year in some time.
Well, the last time we were at 4-1, I think. Are we 5-1 or are we 6-1? I don't know. The last time we were close to this was 1991.
Yeah.
So
what I'm saying is, since I've known you, This is the best you've done.
Well, no, since 1957, this is the best we've done.
All right.
So
I didn't keep up. I didn't give a shit about the Lions until I started hanging out with you guys. So,
and now you're like, I'm all about the Lions.
I mean, well now here's the thing. If I watch an NFL football game, it's probably a Lions game because I'm like a tertiary Lions fan.
Right.
I'm not like a Lions fan, but if I'm watching an NFL game, I'm pulling for the Lions because that's the only reason I'm fucking watching.
Sure. Well, and often, like, part of the reason the Lions have had, like, people feel sorry for the Lions all these years is because they have the Thanksgiving Day game. Every year they play the 12 o'clock Thanksgiving Day game.
And lose it.
And lose it most of the time. And they have won a few in recent years, and we are playing the Packers, who we fucking kicked their asses already this year.
Okay.
So hopefully,
I do always watch you guys on because that's one of the things we do. We're usually somebody's house and the game is on, and
right.
That's the one game at least a year I watch if I'm not hanging out with you guys. And here's the thing about the Lions. Like I said, it's not my thing. I'm not really actually an NFL fan.
Right.
I prefer college football, but what I like about the Lions is they remind me of my college team.
Exactly. No, often when we'd watch the Lions, they'd remind me of my high school team in the years past. But I think they finally got the formula right, and knock on wood. I never want to count my chickens.
Sure.
But they look really good. It doesn't even look like it's a fluke. Like sometimes in the past, when we would win, you'd be like, oh, that was a fluke that we just accidentally won that game.
It's just because that one guy got a torn ACL on the other team, right?
Right, exactly. It would always be stuff like that. But this year we look good. We're playing the game.
Yeah.
We've got good players in the good spots. Even our second and third string players are decent.
Yeah.
Like, and we've never had that before.
Yeah.
I always wondered if we would ever accidentally stumble across the right combination of things.
Yeah.
Like, because how since 1957 have we been this bad? Like,
right?
You make a change here, you make a change there. How has it not accidentally been good?
I got you. It's kind of like the whole thing about if you put a room full of monkeys,
right? They eventually typed Shakespeare. Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, why aren't we typing Shakespeare yet? I don't get it.
We never
Especially
were.
when you get the first draft pick every fucking year, right?
And we wasted a lot of first draft picks. So, but no, we look really
feel
good.
like at some point that should pay the fuck off.
It really should. But I'm excited.
I'm happy for you. I
you.
hope this is the year. I really do. Like, because, I like a good underdog story too. So there's that, which is why, again, like with my college thing, it's like why I respect them. Like,
right.
It's they're hard to be a fan of, but but it happens eventually. I mean, the Cubs eventually had their day, and
right, and lots of but the Lions have been historic, like in a ranking of every sport ever. The Lions were number one in losingest team in the U.S.
Yeah.
Like they were the losingest team ever. So we're actually doing really, really well. So I'm very excited. We did a football episode a couple of years ago, but the tenor was probably a little different. So maybe we'll revisit that around Super Bowl time.
This kind of feels like that SNL skit where the Goth kids were talking and the hockey bros were there, Yes. Jeff Goldblum's going to come in a minute as Count Feedback.
Yes, absolutely. But because we are not here for that, right? We're not talking football. This episode is about goth.
Yeah.
We're hosting Goth Night.
We're hosting Goth.
And as you can see, we're both very goth. Right now. And I am not at all goth. As I mentioned,
she's wearing the gothest thing she owns.
I am. I'm legitimately doing that. Well, and I mentioned when we started this show, I'm like, this is literally us. This is who we are for this show right here.
Right.
Because I actually wanted to find something even more colorful.
Yeah, you should have. You should have felt
but I don't even have it. Like my wardrobe is t-shirts and jeans.
Right.
I don't even have anything more colorful.
Okay.
I tried. I thought about it. But anyway, why don't you give us a little intro to Goth Night here on Bill Has Opinions?
All right. Well, my intro will be like my history with the whole thing, I guess, because that's usually what I do is like, what does this mean to me? What does it mean to me? When I was in my formative years,
when I was a young boy,
yes,
my father took me.
Oh, he did. He took me to to downtown to a big parade.
To the Black Parade?
Well, yeah, and he told me this crazy thing. He was like, he was like, listen, he's like, when you grow up, will you promise to do all this crazy? And I was like, dude, that's a lot to lay on a kid, man. Like, no, I'm not promising any of that shit. Like, that's heavy, man. I'm not doing it.
Doing it.
No, I'm not feeling that yet. Like, I'll decide that later.
Oh, and I just realized we haven't talked about our beers, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Finish your story.
Anywho, no, what I was gonna say. So my segue was, like ninth grade. I don't know what the fuck I was like. I you're finding yourself in your high school years, right? Like, so I think like the beginning of ninth grade, I was like some sort of like, that was when there was like a hippie revival kind of thing going on in the late 80s. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
so I went through.
You're younger than you. I remember all of it.
Okay, so
except mine was Midwestern.
So I went through that for a minute, and then I was like, no, that's not really me. And then I discovered punk, and I started going to like the hardcore shows over at the VFW hall on the Friday nights, and seeing like 4 bands for $4 or whatever the fuck.
Right.
And I really liked punk for a couple of, for maybe a year or two. And then, it was probably like mid sophomore year when I finally like discovered like goth music, there were 2 other people in my town who were into it, that were, like, I just like started trading tapes with them. I was into punk and they were into goth, and they started like turning me on to this stuff. And this was actually, I will say this was back in the early 90s. There wasn't a word for it. Like, it wasn't goth. It was called Hey F Word.
We didn't call it that.
Well, I didn't call it that, but the people who saw me would call me,
Right.
I'm old enough to remember when that's what it was called.
I think that's also very Southern, because like even in Detroit, that would have never been a thing.
Yeah, no, they weren't terribly accepting of any kind of countercultures in my hometown, I suppose.
And I should say small town South.
Small town.
Because I bet even if
try that in a small town.
Yes, please do try that.
Actually, I'll say this: it had its benefits, because once I started wearing eyeliner, which I want to mention that for a minute. This is not my normal. I don't do this. I won't even do this. Like, so I'm going to a concert in 2 weeks. I don't do that. Like, this is not my. I don't. This is too much. I feel like a goddamn fool.
At the end of the show, I've got makeup remover. Like, when we're done.
I'm just saying. I feel the reason I feel like a damn, not because I'm ashamed of it, but because I did such a poor job. Like when I was 17, I could do this, but now I've got like fucking wrinkly eyelids and shit, and it's just a mess. And my hands are shaky, and I don't know the fuck I'm like, and I just look like a goddamn ghoul or clown or something. I don't know. I'm like so. I like my outfit, but
your outfit is swanky.
But I fucking hate my like this. But it was already done, and I was like, oh well, it's all over my face now. Like, I'm just gonna look like.
Well, I'll also tell you on screen, like, the camera covers a lot of sins.
Sure, yeah. I'm seeing that.
Like,
now.
they're not up. They're not up in your face.
Yeah, we're not in high def or anything.
No, we're as high def as we can get, which is not that high def.
But what I'm trying to say is, so when I was in high school, I did start wearing eyeliner, and of course, when you're in a small town in the South and you're a goth, people think you worship the devil,
right?
And I didn't do anything to correct anybody on that particular issue. I don't worship the devil, but I mean, at the time I was even fucking Christian probably, but I didn't correct anybody, because that comes with a certain amount of people leaving you the fuck alone.
For sure.
Because they don't want whatever the repercussions of fucking with a devil worshiper might be. So they just, like, honest to God, like, I remember I rear-ended a jock in the parking lot coming out of school one day,
Whoops.
Yeah. And he got out of the car, and I got out of the car, and we both looked, like, he looked at his rear bumper, and I looked at my front bumper, and he was just like, we're cool, man. And he got back in the fucking car and
because
left.
he was afraid you were going to hex him.
Something. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, so that's why I was like, if people ask, do you worship the devil? I'm like, could be. Well,
like, and so I would never have called myself goth. I never did. Like, I didn't dye my hair black. I didn't wear the eyeliner. I didn't wear all black. Sometimes I wore some black. But, like, I went from cheese metal, like the super hair metal situation. Because my brother, who's 5 years older than me, 5.5 years older than me, and I worshipped the ground he walked on, he was like, this music that you're listening to is shit. Hear some other music. And among the things were like old hard rock, like, the classic hard rock, like Led Zeppelin.
Sure.
And some like punk,
Yeah.
Sex Pistols, and The Cure and Susie and the Banshees and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, I like all of this. This is all great.
Yeah.
And I do. But my which I wouldn't call goth, although there's probably a level in which it was a goth offshoot, and I don't know.
We'll talk about that.
Right, we'll get there. But, like I didn't do this. I was not dressed like this in any way. But I'm going to open this in a minute too.
Okay, that's fair.
Like I would wear floral dresses with combat boots.
Yeah, well, that was totally a '90s thing.
Yeah,
sure.
It was a '90s thing.
That was the what was it? The Empire Records look, kind of. But
it wasn't not goth. It was like goth adjacent, right?
Yes,
like
sure.
We were kids that were trying to not float the mainstream, right?
Sure.
We were trying not to be like the jocks and the popular kids and the cheerleaders,
right?
So we were all kind of in that burnout punk goth grunge aesthetic, right? We were the kids that weren't.
That's interesting taste.
Is that what is it?
Well, it says it's an October, but it says the Marson style lager, but it actually tastes a little bit like a porter to me.
It doesn't look like a porter. I'm going to show you this.
It feels like there's a hint of coffee or cocoa or something in it.
I mean, I don't hate it, but it is weird. Yeah, it says Marson style lager. So we didn't get to our beer.
Do you taste cocoa? Because I taste cocoa.
Yeah, I mean, I taste bitter. I taste something a little bitter, like cocoa or coffee.
Maybe it's just whatever after having that previous one. I don't know.
Well, right. So you had the Oktoberfest
from
Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada, which is one of my.
It's hard to see it with this background. Hi. That's spooky.
Weird.
And I got all dark beers for this one.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna do just dark beer. So I've got because it's dark like my soul.
Yeah.
Green Man Porter. And then next I've got a oatmeal porter.
Yeah.
So
boy, nothing's really working with that background.
No, it doesn't. I was actually afraid it would like break our live stream, and thankfully it hasn't. But I'm about to open this too, so we're going to share it. It's the Pumpkin from
Southern Tier, which is I've got ranked on my Untapped as the best of the pumpkin beers.
The best pumpkin beer?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, the best one is the Nitro Pumpkin.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But this one is second best. So okay.
I will tell
you.
So as a really quick aside, like we were in Detroit and we went to a beer bar, like a cool beer bar in Ferndale with my bestie.
Yeah.
And they had just done their Oktoberfest. They had 8 Oktoberfests on all different local craft Oktoberfests. So between the three of us, we had 6 of them.
Did you do flights of them?
No, we just each of us we had 2 rounds.
Okay.
And each of us ordered a different one, and then each of us ordered another different one.
Yeah.
So we had 6 of them, and it was almost all of them on the menu, and they were really good. And I don't have any more notes than that because I don't remember what they were. But Jill put them on her Untapped, so if you want to check it out, definitely.
I'll look into that.
But anyway,
thank you, Jill, for putting those on your Untapped.
So,
but I wanted to mention first off, so growing, So I went through the little. I wouldn't say goth phase because I think there's a part of me that's always goth, and I've definitely come like a full circle to it. But I went through a period of my life where I didn't do this for a while, because I had life got in the way or whatever the fuck, whatever happens.
Sure.
And I don't wear, and I will say this, I don't wear the uniform unless I'm going to a thing. Like if I'm going to Goth Night or a concert, then I'll put all this on. Otherwise, I've got a mix of what I call casual goth or corporate goth or whatever the fuck.
Well, with blazers and dark shirts and stuff. Yeah,
just basically that. Like I've always worn black and gray. Like it's always been a thing like that. I never dropped that. I feel like, so to me, and this is a thing I think I put on my notes to send to you, is goth a aesthetic or is it a worldview? And I feel like to me it's a worldview, right?
Sure.
It's like a way you perceive things in the world. And so even if I don't dress, if I don't put on the uniform and I don't put on eyeliner or whatever the fuck, it doesn't make me less goth because I feel how I feel.
Right.
And I see the light and the darkness or whatever the fuck you want to, whatever the thing is that makes you goth, right? That makes
Right.
you like that kind of music, or makes you like horror movies or
Sure.
spooky shit or whatever the fuck.
Right. Whatever makes you spoopy.
Exactly.
Whatever does that.
Whatever that is, it's still there, regardless of how you dress. And so we'll come. This will come full circle towards the end, I want to say. But
These
anyway,
are delicious together, BT Dubs. I didn't mean to take a swig of this. I meant
The
to grab
fun-
this.
Oh yeah.
And like, but the dark like deliciousness of this, like, and then combined with
If you made a
pumpkin
black and
spice.
orange.
Yeah, basically, I could probably do that. I'm not going to, but that would be delicious.
Oh yeah, well, I've got another one. I'll bring it next week and we'll do.
All right, next week we'll do black and oranges.
Okay.
Black and no, Jack and tans. Like, what would you?
Yeah, there you go.
Jack and tan?
Jack and tan.
All right, we'll do that next week. So let's real quick. We like to do a little bit of a station break for no apparent reason.
All right.
But what we want, these are both spooky and getting you ready for the holiday season. We would always like to encourage you to buy our TFTs, totally fungible tokens, right? And you have many options. If you go to billhasopinions.threadless.com, you can pick up the Stay Shitty My Lord, or the Stay Shitty My Lady, or the Stay Shitty My Good Noble.
Right.
And we have these, delightful combination of characters. We've got our skeleton, we've got our bat, and we've got our black cat. So whatever you want, you can get. You can buy them in all kinds of different things: t-shirts, bathroom accessories.
It would make a really weird t-shirt, but as a poster or a sticker or whatever for your bathroom, it'd be great. I think it's walking around. Although I'm not saying it would. It would still be. It'd be a pretty surreal t-shirt to walk around with, right? Like, because people be like, "What?"
Exactly. And we're all for that. But I mean, literally, I put it on all of the possible, like, I think you can get a coffee mug. I think you can get a water bottle. Like, you can get all kinds of things in this.
Yeah.
I
buy a coffee mug that says
you
this.
You should buy a coffee mug.
I will buy one. Yeah.
You should.
I will have one. Yes, because here's the thing, because coffee leads to you go to the bathroom. It's related in its way.
That's true. That's very true. That is correct.
Coffee gets you going, I like to say.
But folks, buy some of our merch. Go to Threadless, billhasopinions.threadless.com.
Yeah.
And buy some of our merch. You will not be disappointed, or maybe you will. I don't know.
Yeah. You might be terribly disappointed.
I didn't take it off the screen. All right, let's get into the meat of the show, because we took up 23 minutes on the intro.
Oh my God, we did.
We had so much show.
I was like, you sent me this whole outline, and I sent you some notes back, and then I was like, it doesn't fucking matter. We're never going to finish all of it anyway.
All right, but I want to really quick go through a brief history of goth, right? Because goth, what we think of as goth, obviously is not what people have thought of throughout the course of human history.
Right. Yeah, it's been a lot of things.
And so goth started out in the Roman Empire.
Yes.
The Visigoths and the Ostrogoths.
I found out today there's actually a card game called Visigoths versus Molgoths.
Nice.
Which sounds like a pretty fun game.
It sure does.
We should get that and never play it.
Yeah, that's correct. I have a whole shelf of games over here that I've never played. But so the Visigoths separated from the Ostrogoths in the 4th century AD, but then they raided the Roman territories. I said terrorists.
Terrorists.
Sure.
Territories why not?
Repeatedly.
I mean, those terrorists deserve raiding.
But they established the kingdoms of Gaul and Spain.
I mean, you're not wrong. They were terrorists in a way.
Everybody was like, everybody is a terrorist.
Everybody is, and everybody will be.
At some point.
Sure.
But then from the Visigoths and Ostrogoths, we get to Gothic architecture.
Right.
Right. And I just picked a random building because
I like it's got all those pigeons.
It does have all the pigeons. So this is actually Duomo di Milano in Milan. But which of course it was very popular in Italy.
It's the flying buttresses that make it Gothic, right?
Right. Well, it's characterized by vertical proportions, pointed arches, external buttressing, and asymmetrical
I want to start a goth band called the Flying Buttresses.
You should. And then stained glass windows and like heavy stone ceiling vaults and stuff. So like And goth architecture is super cool. Like,
oh yeah, no, it's one of the best.
I love architecture and gothic architecture. To be fair, it wasn't you.
It wasn't goth architecture. Goth architecture.
As if I painted this room black. That's goth architecture right there.
Exactly. I got one of them octopus lamps from that guy on the internet that sells them for $800.
Exactly.
You know?
So, but from there, we got to Gothic literature.
Sure, yeah.
Which was called Gothic fiction, Gothic horror. It was primarily like, I mean, it started way back with Frankenstein, right? I think most people consider Frankenstein.
Yeah, Frankenstein and Polidori's the vampire.
The vampire.
Which were written on the same night.
Right.
Which, if you haven't read, you should.
Yes.
It's a pretty good story.
Yes, both of them are. So I wanted.
I mean, it's not as good as Frankenstein.
No.
Clearly, because he wrote a short story and she wrote a whole fucking novel. But
sure. Well, and I want to point out here, this is actually like an original cover. You notice one thing about this cover? It doesn't say who wrote it. You know why? Because they were silencing Mary Shelley, motherfuckers. Oh my God.
They were like, well, if we tell you it's a lady, you won't buy it.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. But then
that's some shit.
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Ain't that just the way?
Ain't that just the way? Bram Stoker's Dracula, of course, is also very much gothic literature. And then through, that was obviously European. Those are both European. And then we get to America, where we had the king of all Goths, which is Edgar Allan Poe, who wrote The Fall of the House of Usher. So, and among other things, like everything, all the things. He wrote many. He lived a short and tragic life, but wrote a lot of goth,
which is the most goth thing ever.
Sure is.
If you think about it.
Well, he died, wasted in the gutter. So, cheers to that.
Yeah. There you go.
So, and there are more goth literature, and a lot of that has informed sort of the goth aesthetic, right?
Absolutely.
Along with that, so they all have spooky atmospheres. They usually feature characters in unfamiliar places. There's a lot about madness and morality in them. Other notable works: The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which gets remade constantly. Actually, Susie Eddy Izzard just did a version.
Oh, okay.
Where she's, it's sort of the pull of the story itself, but then it also mixes in the whole gender thing.
Yeah, I get it. So I kind of saw where it was going when you said it.
Of
course. It was like, yeah, I get this.
The Haunting of Hill House, like some of those.
Oh my God, anything by Shirley Jackson.
Yeah,
really.
She's very
Oh my God, yeah, like
super goth.
Read her entire catalog, I will say.
And then that eventually gave way to what we call Southern Gothic literature, which is basically anything by Flannery O'Connor.
Sure.
But also, like, Edgar Allan Poe does actually fit into Southern Gothic.
Sure,
yeah. Baltimore.
Because the line runs through the middle of Baltimore.
Yeah,
exactly. You can actually get sweet tea in parts of Baltimore and not in other parts of Baltimore.
Sure.
To let you in on the joke.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then you do have things like The Garden of Good and Evil, Lovecraft Country, which is actually fairly contemporary, but is based on the works of that racist asshole that wrote the Cthulhu Myths.
Oh, yeah, that guy, yeah.
Super racist.
I mean, super racist, but at the same time, kind of pretty interesting horror stuff.
Yeah, but that's why I like Lovecraft Country, because in spite of being written by a white author, like, it takes that story and it turns it on its head in a way that
I appreciate that.
Kind of reclaims the racism, I guess. Yeah. Like, it's really interesting, and the show is amazing.
God. What's the God, I'm trying to think of the other person.
Any other person in general?
No, there's a specific person I'm trying to think of, and I can't remember the fucking name of the novel nor the writer, but I know a quote from it, so I'm trying to look it up.
All right. Well, you can give me the quote. Maybe I know.
Nobody with a good car needs to be justified. It's from shit. We'll say most people know this from a Ministry song.
Oh, sure,
but
right.
it has samples from a movie, which is based on a novel by a person
that you can't find right now. Well, keep looking for it. Interrupt me when you find it.
I'm just trying to remember what the damn name of the fucking, like, I watched the movie and it was a really good movie. It is Flannery O'Connor. Never mind.
Oh, all right, Flannery O'Connor. That tracks. Yeah.
Never mind. It's Flannery O'Connor.
Well,
I thought it was a different person, and then it turns out. I mean, oh well.
If it's Southern Gothic, it's Flannery O'Connor.
Yeah. There was a show called. Do you remember this? There was a short-lived television show in the late '90s called Southern Gothic.
Yes.
There was like a kind of a Twin Peaksy sort of horror.
Yeah, well, it was capitalizing on Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks,
badly.
honest to God, like we can't not mention David Lynch and his influence on goth culture. Like honestly, he was kind of one like the first goth director, really.
Sure.
Well, I mean, not maybe the first.
I mean, like, yeah, but not the first, but because
but definitely like ran with that whole theme. Like everything he's done has certainly appealed to goths.
Mm-hmm.
Had that sort of darkness, you know. And anyway, fucking Twin Peaks like set TV on a path where it was like anything's fucking possible. You can do whatever you want to do, and there's so many things that wouldn't exist without the debt to fucking Twin Peaks having existed.
Absolutely, and I think he owes a debt to like the Universal monster movies, right? Oh God, I can't remember the guy who did Frankenstein, but I mean, that's goth as shit, right?
Oh yeah,
and 100%,
because fucking Tim Burton uses that one shot of the fucking windmill.
Yeah. Every time.
Every fucking movie he's ever made. Like which is what actually maybe like initially so Tim Burton, I would say after David Lynch was probably the next big goth director. And I liked him at first, but then over time he became like kind of a one-trick pony.
He really did.
He kept doing the same thing over and over so many times that I was like, I'm bored with you. You don't do anything new. You know?
Right.
And I don't want 100% hate on him because he's done some really good work. Like Edward Scissorhands, I fucking love. I love Beetlejuice. I loved
yes, correct, Jay. I was getting there. James Whale did the original Frankenstein.
Okay.
And first of all, if you want to see in a fucking incredible movie, it remains one of my favorites of all time, is Gods and Monsters with Brendan Fraser and Ian McKellen.
Okay.
Ian McKellen plays James Whale. James Whale was out and gay when he made those fucking movies, which was a long goddamn time ago.
Yeah.
And it's just so impressive.
Yeah.
And
it's like him and Oscar Wilde were like the pioneers of like, I'm going to be out. Fuck it.
I actually watched.
I'm going to do what I want.
There's an amazing documentary. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe somebody can give me that either. But it was really good. It was like gay horror. It was like how gay horror has been through the centuries. And it started with James Whale. It started all these old movies, even silent films and stuff. Like how gay they were, like how influenced they were by gay culture, and then how gay culture influenced them.
And that'll come into play cool. In something I got to say later.
All right.
In this particular episode about goth culture.
All right.
So, yeah.
So, well, I wanted to skip because I think music is usually the thing. That's the thing people think of as goth, right?
Sure, 100%. Yeah.
But let's talk about the aesthetic really quick. Here's the aesthetic. Here it is. But
although there are 17 different sub-aesthetics.
Exactly.
Of which I was trying to look up what I was today. And I've decided I'm a mix of vampire, Victorian, romantic, and then kind of my own thing, which I've decided is I have my own thing that I call dapper goth, which is just I try to look like I'm well dressed, but I'm also goth. You know,
I think that's a thing. And when it comes to aesthetic goth, goth fashion is usually marked by dark, mysterious, antiquated, homogenous, and genderless features, which is an important part of goth, right? It's very androgynous.
It very is. Yes. Well, and so I'm sorry, can I knock this back a notch or two?
Sure.
I want to say I want to feel like kind of the advent of it is David Bowie in a way, which I don't want to entirely give the credit to David Bowie because David Bowie wouldn't exist without Little Richard.
Sure.
I feel like David Bowie is just like a Little Richard descendant, sort of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a little more dark and edgy.
Yeah, dark and edgy version of Little Richard, right? But without Little Richard, he would never have happened. Is what I'm trying to say. So I'm trying not to take away credit from Little Richard. Is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
And but anyway, so David Bowie is the advent of both of two subcultures that happened in the late 1970s. One was goth, and one was new romantic, which kind of intersect a lot more, I think, than you never hear this. I don't hear a lot of goths admit to new romantic being an influence, but Billies and the Blitz both pre-existed the Batcave in the UK by a couple of years, and I feel like when you look at things, you know, the new romantic culture kind of descended into goth culture.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
so I think that's totally where the Victorian goths 100% and the makeup and shit, you know, that's where that came from.
Well,
like
and
whole,
also
I'm here to see and be seen, and you know,
but also influenced by Gothic literature
Sure,
and things. Yeah, it
100%, yeah.
all came together in such a way.
right.
So goth fashion is, you know, I mean, there's so many subcultures of it. Dark eyeliner, dark nail polish, which you also have. Lipstick, sometimes often black.
I went over the top today because of the things that were on her notes. To be fair,
That's fair.
I normally don't wear the makeup. I just put on the outfit and then call it a day.
Yeah, sometimes you just put on the outfit for fun. You're like, I just want to be fancy.
I do just want to be fancy sometimes.
So Victorian, Elizabethan fashion, like there's a lot of, you know, that sort of influence. And frankly, I have this note too. Steampunk, when goths discovered brown.
That's fair.
So, you know, it definitely became a thing.
Yeah.
But I want to put, because
that's sort of, that's when you go a step more like Georgian.
Right.
Like,
right. Well, it's also Victorian. I mean, it's very Victorian.
I guess late Steampunk Victorian, early Georgian.
Well, and yeah, I love when steampunk gets all Art Deco. Like I like when it goes up that far.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Also, Art Deco plus Celtic equals elf.
That is very, very, very true. Yes.
Which you also have this medieval goth thing, which is, you know, like but it's not really medieval. It's more like
Renaissance festival,
the Ren Fair, like like fantasy medieval.
Yeah, for sure.
That's another thing.
Absolutely.
And then you've got so then you've also got the cyberpunk, the cyber goths.
Yeah, it gets muddy fast.
Oh yeah, they're like, so there's so many subgenres of goth, the goth aesthetic and the goth music, both, that it gets crazy, you know.
Sure. But I did want to. I pulled two slides before we get to music. For me, the epitome of goth aesthetic lies in Neil Gaiman. And I realized his art was influenced by goth, not the other way around, right?
Sure.
But I think as far as I mean, this is fucking the Sandman, but it looks like goddamn Robert Smith.
Yeah. And his version of Lucifer was actually David Bowie.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, he totally drew on these cultures as a thing for
absolutely.
Sure. Although I've always thought this would be the thing. And I think they've broken up since, but I always thought this would be funny if Neil Gaiman and Amanda Palmer ever had a dinner party and invited Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter over. Would that be the most like goth thing fucking ever?
Very goth, yes. But then for women's aesthetic, right? Neil Gaiman also nailed it with death.
Right.
And I'll tell you, in college, I was fucking obsessed with death.
Okay.
Like, I mean, not
death, the
not
concept.
Actual death.
Like I wanted to die.
Neil Gaiman's death, I went out and I bought, I was not a comic book nerd. I never was. But I went out and bought The High Cost of Living, which was the death graphic novel.
Okay.
And I loved it, and I read it to bits. And then there was also it was called Faces of Death, I believe. And it was different comic book artists that
doing
did
a take on it.
A take on death. And I had that too. And
That's
it was
interesting.
I loved that. I actually almost pulled a picture from that instead of the actual comic for this. And then
so you're a pagan. You want to tell us about the Ankh for a moment?
The Ankh,
whatever, how we want to pronounce it.
So the Ankh there, death wears an Ankh. It's the Egyptian symbol of life and death, basically. Okay. And she wears one, and it's a big part of the story too. Sure. That why she wears one. So one assumes the Egyptians took it from her, not the other way around. But I love her fucking aesthetic. Like literally just, and what made me love death so much is that her character, even though she was dark and gothy, she was like happy.
Yeah.
And she liked her job, even though it was a very sad job. She
made the best of it.
She did.
She wanted to make it the best for other people she had to deal with.
For sure.
Also. Like she was kind of like a hospice worker, really.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like here's what's gonna happen. And they're like, cool. All right.
Absolutely. No, I like, in fact, the Sandman series that was on TV, right? I liked it a lot. And I thought the death episode was one of my favorites because it really did capture her story.
Yeah.
And her story was one of my favorites. One of
hers and the cat one.
Yeah, the cat one for sure. Neil Gaiman said one of his muses for death was Tori Amos.
Right.
Which of course is all I'm a Tori girl through and through.
Yeah.
So
and that's another thing. And you know what? I keep saying I'm gonna come back around to that. No, I'm not gonna come back around to it. For a minute, I'm gonna go ahead and say this, like as an aside. There's a thing, and we're gonna talk about, I guess, gatekeeping a little bit, but there's some things that are not goth but are goth.
Right.
And those things are, in other words, to me, I always say there are. So I had this experience. I'm on Reddit and I'm on this traditional goth Reddit, and the guy who runs that thing is a fucking prick, and he's a big gatekeeper, and like this is goth and that's not goth,
right?
But I'm like, you know what? Here's the thing: there are things that are not goth, but every goth you know owns this record,
right? Exactly.
And those things are one, anything by Depeche Mode.
Sure.
Technically, Depeche Mode is not goth, but they are goth because every goth you know owns a Depeche Mode record. Two, the Smiths.
Yo, God.
Not goth, but every goth you know owns a Smith record.
100%.
Three, Tori Amos. Not goth, but goth.
Yeah, we absolutely.
Mazzy Star.
Yes.
Do you know a single fucking goth that did not own that fucking record? You do not. You do not. Tom Waits.
Oh, God.
Goth, not goth, but goth.
Not goth at all, but goth. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, there are things that are like, I'm sorry, fuck off. I'm tired of arguing about it. Like, these things are goth. Oh, also, sometimes they're like weird about shoegaze too. And I'm like, I'm sorry, fucking Mary and Jesus Chain, who invented shoegaze, first off. Are they not goth? They had the fucking hairdo. Right. Like they had bigger hair than fucking Robert Smith.
Right.
And they were a huge influence on the Pixies. They were a huge influence on the rest of shoegaze. Fucking Billy Corgan looks like goddamn Nosferatu. I know the Smashing Pumpkins aren't goth, but
it's clearly influenced.
But come on. And every goth you know fucking has at least one Smashing Pumpkins album, right?
That's true.
So I'm tired. Like this is so.
So basically, the end of the story is gatekeeping is bullshit.
Gatekeeping is fucking bullshit,
and nobody should set what
is goth?
Goth is a mindset, not a right. What is
exactly
goth? Like, things that are goth, they're goth.
If you find the darkness in a thing, it's fucking goth,
right?
And just get over it. The first band that was ever called Gothic in journalism was The Doors.
Correct. Yes.
Technically not a goth band, but on the other hand, you can totally see where they're coming from. The journalist who said this, the second band that ever said this about was the Velvet Underground, which nobody would really fucking argue with, honestly.
Well, right. And I think that is the delineation. We've made this arbitrary delineation between Gothic and goth. Right, the Doors, if you look at it from a Gothic aesthetic, like the literature, like the architecture, right? Like they were a very literary band and they were a very dark band.
Sure.
So why weren't they Gothic? Of course they were Gothic.
Yeah.
They were 100%
hey, fucking
Gothic.
Listen, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I want to say like the 30th anniversary or something, Elektra Records put out this album called Encomium, which was a retrospective of Elektra Records, and one of the things that was on that album was a cover by The Cure of a Doors song. So
right,
I feel like that's like that should tell you right there where the lineation is. Like, you understand that these things are connected, right?
Right, because clearly The Cure found enough inspiration in the Doors to want to do that.
Right.
So to say goth rock, which I agree with you, like what there should not be. I also really hate superlatives.
I do too. Yeah.
I agree that not everything has to be the best this or the most this or anything like that. If it's goth, it's goth, or if it's dark, right?
Yeah.
So goth rock it emerged from the post-punk era, which was in the late 70s. And then it eventually merged into this sort of dark, kind of deathy deathy ideas, right? Like
I guess.
a
Yeah.
deep depression of music,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So the ones that were most popular at the very beginning, right? Susie and the Banshees,
Right.
which are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Bauhaus. Are you okay there?
I'm okay. Just choking on spit like you do.
Would you like some more beer?
I
Bauhaus.
would like more beer, but yes.
You can have some. You can have some.
I can have a swig of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pour yourself out. I still have all this.
Okay.
So the Bauhaus, of course, the Bauhaus.
We're gonna make this Bauhaus a Bow home.
Yeah, we really are. I love Bauhaus. Like these 4 bands, these were the ones my brother put on a mixtape for me when I liked hair metal and was like, "Here, listen to this instead."
Yeah.
And obviously, The Cure. You can't talk about goth without The Cure.
Sure.
And then probably the most iconic image of all time, and the most goth, like Joy Division. Like,
yeah.
In this image, right? People make parody shirts of this image.
Right. 100%. Yeah. And or just all kinds of variations of it, whether it's parody or homage.
Yeah. So Joy Division, Susie, and you notice, like, I went and found these logos. I didn't have to make them black and white.
And they were all black and white. This is what they did.
Black and white.
This is what they did.
That's just what it was.
Yeah.
And but I mean,
I will point out to you, even so, after Bauhaus broke up and they became Love and Rockets.
I love Love and Rockets,
which I actually prefer to Bauhaus.
Oh, that's fighting
controversial opinion.
That's fighting words.
I like Love and Rockets more than Bauhaus.
I actually really like Love and Rockets.
Their logo is black and white and red.
Yes.
Yes. It just adds one more color.
So the information I found said the genre itself was defined as separate movement from post-punk. It stood out due to darker sounds, with usually using minor or bass chords, which is true. Like, people say minor chords make you more depressed.
Yeah. It's true.
Reverb, dark arrangements, dramatic, melancholic.
A lot of reverb.
For sure.
Everybody plays and this is true of both goth and shoegaze. Everybody plays a Jaguar or a Jazzmaster, one of those slanty guitars,
right?
Which creates a lot more reverb. Kind of the same guitar they use in surf music.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of reverb again.
So, and the inspirations were Gothic literature. I mean, for crying out loud, Bauhaus's biggest hit was Bela Lugosi's Dead, right? Like, it's literally about Dracula, but it's also about the actor that played Dracula, because that actor was spooky and weird. So they went with it. Sadness, nihilism, dark romanticism, tragedy, like all of these things they did. And then it became a subculture, it became clubs, and that still persists today, which I think is the cool part about it, right?
Well, it's one of the cool parts about it.
There are new goths all the time. What's
the coolest part about it to me? This is so we're almost to the end, so I should go ahead and
you should go.
So the biggest pro to goth culture to me is how inclusive it is. I love that when I go to a goth show, I see Black people and I see Asian people and I see Hispanic people and I see gay people and I see trans people, and we're all just having a good time. And everybody's like cool with it, whatever the fuck's going on. I mean, the goth culture also absorbed fucking fetish culture and BDSM culture. It's basically whatever the fuck you're into, we're into it too.
Right. If it's dark and spooky,
we're cool with it.
Do it.
Like, it's like the Olive Garden tagline: when you're here, you're family.
Exactly.
You know, like when you're at the goth club, you're family. That's the biggest pro to me of goth culture, is how just accepting it is of whatever. Now, the biggest con of it, as we've been discussed before, is the gatekeeping, which I feel like happens on the internet, but doesn't really happen in real life.
Right,
like
exactly.
nobody's going to come to you at the club and go, "Oh, you're a fucking Hot Topic goth, get out of here."
Right.
You know, but they will call you out on the internet, but that's because there's the anonymity of the internet that causes people to be assholes.
Correct. Yes. Which
Anyway.
any subculture has that,
Oh,
right?
sure, 100%. You know,
Absolutely.
you can't avoid it. I think it's the internet. It's the big mixer there.
Right. Well, and some people, like a lot of the purists, the goth purists, the gatekeepers,
Mhm.
are like, if it's not Susie and the Banshees, Joy Division, Bauhaus, The Cure, it's not goth, right?
Sisters of Mercy also.
Oh, yes,
they'll allow that one.
That's okay. But truly, like any musical genre, goth has evolved and goth has modernized.
Sure.
And there are new bands.
If you're not evolving, then it's fucking stale and stupid.
Well,
you
then,
know?
yeah, like, then you just feel like the old people that like the one thing and are like, get off my lawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like I haven't liked anything since Grand Funk Railroad. Fuck off.
But obviously the post-punk because goth came out of post-punk, the post-punk revival, emo. Like, to be fair, emo people like to make fun of it.
Yeah.
Man, it's goth as shit.
And no, emo is totally like a subtype of
It
goth.
literally
Like,
stands
it's
for
Goth
emotional
Junior.
punk. Yeah, exactly. And then
And I mean, it's not really like, so I don't love, My Chemical Romance or Ghost, but I get why people who like them
Sure,
do like them.
absolutely.
And I'll just say, hey, I'm not the audience for that. Like,
right.
I'm not going to diss it because I don't like it. It's just,
Right.
I'm not the audience, right? Like, whatever. My
Right.
son loves Ghost, and I was talking to him about it, and I was like, like, to me, I feel like, the aesthetic doesn't match with the music exactly,
Sure.
but whatever, if it does for you, that's fine. Like, I'm not gonna piss on it, like it's fine for what it is. It's just not my thing, right?
Right, but it's still, there's no reason it's not goth.
Right.
Right?
No, yeah.
Even if you don't like it, it may still be goth.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best modern examples of that, right? You actually have a picture with this gentleman, Goth Dad, and shit, what's his band? If I weren't
Vision Video.
If I weren't drunk, I would know what it was. I mean, he is the epitome of modern goth.
Sure,
like he's traditional goth in the way that it is like The Cure, like Susie and the Banshees.
Sure, yeah.
But it's still very new.
Uh-huh.
But he's also like this sweet guy, and I like that they call him Goth Dad, right?
Yeah.
He's like in his 30s, and they're like, "Oh,
Sure.
you're the oldest goth," and we're like, "Hold my beer."
Exactly.
We're nearly 50, folks.
Yeah.
And a lot of goths are our age or older. Obviously, Robert Smith is.
Yeah.
But I like that there keeps enfolding this experience
Exactly.
for people and make goth new again. Make people listen to Vision Video and then say, let me check out Susie and the Banshees.
Yeah, let me check out what their influences are. Yeah.
Bauhaus. Let me check out The Cure.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, and he's great for that. And also, like, as an ambassador for this whole thing I was talking about with the diversity and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's open bisexual, and he's very like, he goes on these little rants during his concerts too, where he talks about politics and the culture and everything, and makes it clear like you're part of a family. And
I keep pouring these very heavy, unintentionally. Like, I don't mean to do this. I'm glad you had some, because otherwise I would have overfilled it.
No, it was delicious, and I appreciate it. Actually, this is my second favorite beer by them, probably.
Yeah, I've got a whole 6-pack in there, so help yourself.
Hey.
But I only bought, like I said, dark beers because they were dark like my soul.
All right, what didn't we get to yet?
We didn't. We covered all of it, man.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
I am impressed with us because
yeah,
I did not expect to.
I did not, because I will point out, hold on, let me start from the beginning. So usually we have 1 page of notes.
Oh, you had 3 tonight.
But they were full too. Oh wait, let's get you.
Right.
Nope.
Not gonna look at that.
So no.
You just disappear every time you try to show it.
I try. I have 3 pages of notes with like
Spooky.
heavy info. There, you can kind of see it right there, and like a lot of shit. Like, there's a lot of shit in here, and we got through all of it. So I guess there's no reason to
brilliant
to artificially extend the show.
No,
unless you have any more last minute comments.
Hold on a minute. Let me just double check real quick to make sure I touched on everything.
Oh wait, I have a thing.
Okay,
I forgot I had a thing. You sent me a picture earlier today because this is a picture you actually took once.
I did.
And it comes up in your.
It comes up in my memories, and it came up today this morning when I was looking at my memories on, and I was like, "This is fucking hilarious! It's hilarious every time I see it."
It is.
I took a picture. This came up in. I was in Wilmington a couple years ago.
Well, and you had sent me a bunch of memes earlier.
I see a bunch of goth memes.
Yeah, I'm like, that's great, but I'm not making anything out of these.
Okay,
but then you sent me this, and I'm like, that's fucking hilarious.
Okay, that's the best. And it is the best. I giggle at it every time it comes up.
But it's not even a meme. You should put this out on the internet.
I should really, because it was the best. Because the idea that there's a thing called math goth. Well, it's funny to me.
Here's the thing,
like this is math prog, or math rock, which is a child of prog,
right,
so to speak. But the idea that there's math goth is funny.
Well, so here's the thing, right? You and I think there are some kids that watch Sesame Street who were influenced by other characters, and then some of us, our favorite character was the fucking Count.
So the Count is both my favorite Muppet and also my favorite vampire.
That is not inaccurate. Absolutely.
Like he in the Venn diagram of favorite vampire and favorite Muppet, he's a circle. When
I was a little kid, apparently we had, like, when I was tiny, my father read to me when I went to bed every night. And apparently we had like a kid book of the Count. Okay. And my dad would do the voice.
Oh, yeah?
But he was not a guy that would do that sort of thing most of the time.
But he did the Count voice.
And it was always my favorite character. Like, I love the fucking Count.
Count Von Count is the best.
To this day, Count Von Count is my, like, yeah, I agree. Okay. I like a lot. We had a vampire episode. BT Dubs, go look at our vampire episode. When you go to YouTube, click on live videos. Go back to find the vampire episode.
So my only, what did I say? Did I have anything that I didn't get to here? Oh, shit.
No, I think you.
No, I think you're right. We covered it all. Okay.
You did.
Yeah, we covered it all. I mean, the only thing I would say is, like, I want to mention real quickly. There's a bunch of subgenres of goth and goth music. I'm talking goth music strictly here, not goth aesthetics, because there's probably 1,000 sub goth aesthetics. Goth music, you got your like I said, shoegaze, which a lot of people, like the gatekeepers, would argue probably not goth, but I say no, it is totally 100% goth. You got your cabaret, like Dresden Dolls,
sure,
or Love Cats from The Cure.
That's one of my favorite songs. But also, like, that's the meeting of
musical theater
nerds and goths.
And goths,
right?
Exactly, yeah. 100%. You got your Celtic type of goth music, which is not probably my least favorite, honestly. But if you like it, that's okay. You're welcome to like it.
Which in some ways, like Lorena McKenna, like she's not goth, but she's also Celtic, and it's dark and mysterious.
Yeah,
and cool.
There's a lot of that. You got your there's like prog that's heavily influenced by goth, or there's goth prog, maybe, I don't know. There's
like
dark metal,
Coheed and Cambria.
Yeah, sure.
Like it's science fiction prog metal.
Yeah,
and that's absolutely goth as shit, right?
And then you got psychobilly, which is a type of rockabilly that's about murder and spooks and Frankensteins and shit. Whatever, like the Cramps. There's probably the biggest example.
There's no plural of Frankensteins, which is actually
what do you call when you put a bunch of corpses together and you make a thing?
There's also one of my favorite Halloween songs is from 30 Rock, and it's called Werewolf Bar Mitzvah. And it's hilarious as shit. And one of the lyrics is Frankenstein's, and then there's like a producer's voice in the background says, There's no Frankensteins. It's not plural. You can't have a plural Frankenstein.
What do you call that? What is a humanungus? Is that what they call that?
I don't know.
When you mix a bunch of parts,
Frankenstein is the doctor. You call it Frankenstein monster.
As they say, yeah.
You would call it monsters.
Like intelligence is when you realize that Frankenstein is not the name of the monster, but Frankenstein is the monster.
Yeah, correct. Yes, absolutely. No, I read a tweet a while back that was somebody said, like it was it was calling out like the young people in trigger culture, right?
Yeah.
And it was like young people say the Frankenstein is not the Frankenstein, or the monster in Frankenstein is not the monster. And like the answer was, no, that's literally the story. That's the whole
No,
story.
he's the victim.
He's
the fucking
the victim.
No, and I recently saw. I just watched a horror movie this week where the victim was the monster, but not the monster. You know, like it was called Barbarian. It took place in Detroit.
Oh, I know.
Shitty part of Detroit. You shouldn't watch it.
No, I should not.
You shouldn't watch it.
Matt saw it for that reason because it takes place in Detroit, and I've read the synopsis. It sounds perfectly accurate. And but I can't watch it. Like that's not what I can watch.
I enjoyed it,
but yeah.
But I understand if you don't, you know,
I need to find me some spoopy movies.
You need spoopy. She needs to watch. I forgot. I sent you some things.
You did, but also that made me think though, because we talked about it a while back, that I need to rewatch The Bride with Sting.
Oh yeah.
Because that was totally.
Oh, that was a.
It's basically
it's Frankenstein.
It's Frankenstein made in the early 90s with Sting.
With Sting.
So it's not exactly Frankenstein. It's not.
And it's got the little guy from The Wizard.
Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. It's weird.
But it was a good. I didn't hate it. I loved it. I haven't seen it forever, and I need to watch it again. Actually.
No, that's what I'm thinking.
And see if I still feel the same way.
I'm thinking our Halloween movie this year should be. So I should say I've been searching for, and if anybody can find this anywhere.
Okay.
The Halloween movie I want to watch every year is Haunted Honeymoon. That is
Was that Dom DeLuise?
Dom DeLuise and Willy Wonka.
Gene
Wilder.
Yes.
Gene, I wanted to say Gene Hackman, and I did.
Yeah, I know. When you said Gene, I did the same thing. I was like, that's not Hackman.
I knew it was wrong. Gene Wilder and his wife, and I also would have known her name.
Gilda Radner.
Gilda Radner, thank you. And I watched it when I was like a teenager, and now it's not available anywhere, and I'm dying to watch it again.
I hate that when something you want to watch is not streaming anywhere. I downloaded so many stupid apps like Pluto and Tubi because they have actually a better catalog than Netflix or Hulu does.
Oh yeah, for sure, but not everything.
But not everything. But you have to sit through commercials
for sure.
But on the other hand, they have half the shit you want to see.
I would do that, but nobody has haunted. I've even tried to find it like on YouTube,
Haunted Honeymoon, and I would say it would make a good double feature with Transylvania 65000.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Anyways,
all right. I think it's now 8:00. We got a pizza coming.
We do. We have
spoopy pizza
with the garlic crust. Not really.
And I
didn't get garlic crust. That's extra.
But this is Halloween season, so we will have another Halloween episode. So why don't you take us away?
All right. Well, Bill Has Opinions is engineered.
You never do it.
Engineered and produced by Laura Lavoie. The opinions of Bill are his and his alone, and the opinions of Laura are hers unless they agreed on the thing. And I don't know that we disagreed on anything tonight.
Most of the time,
sometimes there's a kismet, if you will. Anyways. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're on what is that on
Facebook, Instagram.
No, that's on
YouTube.
That's
on YouTube. Facebook and Instagram,
and then follow us on Facebook. And
it even says it right here.
Yeah, it does say
follow us on Facebook.
Well, you've been reading it all night. I don't know why I gotta repeat it. Oh my gosh.
I keep forgetting to put that on.
Hashtag Opinion Gang. If you got something to say to us, you got a question, comment, concern, idea for future show, whatever.
Tell us to fuck off. Whatever you got.
Yeah, I'm
just interact with us.
Whatever.
People.
I'm cool with it.
We're dying for it.
Right? Like it's all good by me. I don't care. Anyways, tune in next week for another exciting episode when we talk about
divination.
Divination.
We're gonna tell your fortune, folks.
Dividends.
No, not dividends.
Oh, I thought we were gonna talk about like when you get your check from the stock.
No, we're gonna get hella witchy up in this shit.
We're gonna get all kinds of witchy.
We're gonna do. I'm even gonna.
I'll bring a stick that's in the shape of a Y.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll find some water.
We'll douse. We will douse. No, we'll talk about all that shit.
All right. Yeah. Oh, she's probably gonna bring out the cards.
Oh, I got the cards. I got all kinds.
She got the cards. Woo! Pick
I
a
got
card,
cards.
any card.
I got cards. I've got.
You don't want to pick any
stones.
card though. Some
You
of
do
them are
not.
bad.
I do not. I'm gonna. I know how to read tea leaves. I'll teach you.
Oh
how
wow,
to read
the tea leaves, tiny little tea
I have
leaves.
some
from Tetley
ideas.
Tea.
I've got some production ideas too,
All right.
so it might get crazy up in here.
All right, well that's what we're gonna do next week.
Woohoo!
We're gonna do some witchy shit up in here, so tune in.
All right, we'll see you all soon.
All righty.
Happy Halloween.
Woo!
Bye.